Hey guys, I'm George, the nice merry gentleman, and it's time for your dose of some fragrance content. It's also time for another episode of Fragrance Duels. In today's episode, I'm going to feature fragrances from the brands of French Avenue, Fragrance World, Lattafa, Armaf, and Arabiyat Prestige. The first pair of fragrances that I'm going to battle out in today's episode of Fragrance Duels are both cloning the same original scent, which comes from the designer brand of YSL, but because it's part of their private line, it's as expensive as a lot of niche scents out there. I'm talking about YSL Babycat, a fragrance that's been very popular, amongst the fragrance enthusiasts since it was released, and it's also turned out to be very popular when it comes to Middle Eastern clone brands which have made a lot of clones. And in today's episode of Fragrance Duels, I'm going to battle out what are, in my opinion, are the two absolute best, the two very best Middle Eastern clones of Babycat. They come from the brands of French Avenue, that one is called Ferte, and Arabiyat Prestige, that one is called Nile Queen. So let's compare them. I've talked about them quite a few times already in some of my previous videos, but I've never put them head to head, at least as far as I remember, so I think it's time to do it. Both of them are absolutely superb. The original fragrance from YSL relies on a lot of vanilla, a lot of vanillic sweetness, a lot of suede leather, some spices, a bit of tobacco, and also quite a bit of incense. It feels quite smoky. And in my opinion, both Nile Queen and Ferte capture the spirit of the original fragrance very nicely. And both of them are absolutely superb when it comes to how close they are, when it comes to their quality, even when it comes to their performance. But if I have to point out one of the two fragrances which nails the scent profile maybe slightly better than the other, that one will be Ferte, because Nile Queen is just like taking the original scent of Babycat and making it a little bit sweeter, a little bit thicker, maybe having a little bit stronger tobacco note compared to the original scent. In there, both of them smell almost identical to the original scent, but up close I think Ferte just feels just a hint closer to the original fragrance, because it relies a little bit more on that smokiness and a little bit more on that suede leather side of the original fragrance, instead of concentrating so much on the sweeter side, on the sweet vanilla side and the tobacco side of Babycat. But again, both of them smell super close, so I think Ferte is slightly better when it comes to the actual closeness to the original fragrance. But in pretty much every other area, I think Nile Queen is better. Nile Queen is better when it comes to performance. Again, here the margin is slim, but from my personal experience, Nile Queen lasts a little bit longer than Ferte, projects a little bit better, and I know that performance is an important part when it comes to every fragrance. So when it comes to performance, Nile Queen is better, and also nowadays this is cheaper than Ferte. At least around here, this could be found for around about I think the €30 mark. So we're talking about maybe $35 in the US, around about that price point, whereas Ferte is a little bit more expensive. Yes, Ferte is a little bit bigger bottle size. We're talking 80 milliliters when it comes to Ferte and 70 milliliters when it comes to Nile Queen. But I think in some places it's almost twice as expensive as Nile Queen. So in my opinion, at the end of the day, if you're looking for the better value for money, it will be Nile Queen. So Ferte wins when it comes to the closeness to the original scent profile by a small margin. Nile Queen wins the performance part of the battle by a slim margin, and it's also cheaper. And to be honest, I prefer Nile Queen a little bit over Ferte, so I'm going to give this first round to Nile Queen from the brand of Arabiyat Prestige. Now the next two pairs that I'm going to feature in today's video, the other two pairs, both of them are actually cloning very famous and popular designer fragrances. The first one is, the first pair consists of fragrances from the brand of Fragrance World, which is called Invictus Victory Elixir or Invictus Victory Elixir, and the other one comes from the brand of Armaf, and it's called Tacchim Uomo Rosso. Both of them are clones, of course, of Paco Rabanne's Invictus Victory Elixir, and both of them are really nice. In this pair, I'm going to tell you that in here lies my most favorite clone of Invictus Victory Elixir. I'm going to tell you which one that is in a second. But first of all, let's quickly talk about the original scent profile. It's very popular right now. It's been popular for a couple of years since it was released. It's a very sweet fragrance that relies on a lot of sort of on a vanillic sweetness. There's a hint of a coconut note, maybe a hint of incense as well, a hint of freshness in the opening. It's very modern, it's very sweet, it smells very sexy, it's a compliment getter, it lasts for a long time. And to be honest, it's not super expensive, but still, it's a designer fragrance, and the clones definitely cost at least a couple of times less than the original scent. Now, when it comes to Invictus Victory Elixir from the brand of Fragrance World, in my opinion, this is ever so slightly better when it comes to how close it is to the original fragrance compared to Armaf Takim Warmer also. I think this one feels slightly closer to the original scent and captures almost perfectly the original scent profile, and it's one of the best clones of in the portfolio of Fragrance World right now, and it used to be quite popular about a year and a half ago when it was widely available, and again became very popular. It was hyped up, and for a very good reason. I really like this one. When it comes to the Armaf one, this feels slightly different, ever so slightly different compared to the original fragrance, slightly more further away scent-wise, maybe just feels a hint fresher than the original scent, but in the air both of them smell super close to the original fragrance. So when it comes to the actual closeness to the original scent, I would say Invictus Victory Elixir from the brand of Fragrance World is the better fragrance. It's the better choice, but when it comes to performance, at least in my personal experience on my skin, Takim Warm Rosso is the better performer. Now both of them last a good amount of time, at least 7 to 8 hours, around about that mark. But for me personally, Takim Warm Rosso has been the slightly better projecting fragrance and the slightly longer projecting fragrance. And that's why I'm going to give the performance round to Takim Uomo Rosso. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the actual value for money, initially when both of them were released, Takim Uomo Rosso, at least around here, used to be the more the cheaper fragrance, and I would have easily told you right now that this is the winner. But nowadays I think Invictus Victory Elixir can be found for like 20 euros, 20 something dollars, so they more or less they cost equally the same. So I'm going to end up this whole round in a draw, in a tie between the two fragrances. But again, if you're looking for the slightly closer scent-wise clone to the original fragrance, go with the one with Fragrance World, and if you want the one with slightly better performance, go with the one from the brand of Armaf. And the last pair of fragrances that I've included in today's video, again both are cloning original scent from the brand of YSL, but they're cloning something that's a little bit more regular. It's part of their normal line, which is called YSL La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Électrique. It's a slightly fresher, slightly more modern take on the scent profile of La Nuit de l'Homme. Now, I love both La Nuit de l'Homme and Bleu Électrique. I don't know if Bleu Électrique has been discontinued. There have been a lot of rumors about that fragrance being discontinued. I know in some places around the world can be very tough to find, so it's not overly expensive, but it's one of those original scents that not a lot of people can actually easily find, so it's a good thing that we have quite a few good clones at this point in time. The two clones that I've included in today's video come from the brands of Fragrance World again and Lattafa, and they're called Lattafa Al Nashama Caprice and Fragrance World Jack of Clubs. And I really like both of them, but just like with the previous pair, in here lies my most favorite clone of La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Électrique, and I'm going to tell you which one is that in a second. But first of all, let's very quickly talk about the scent of the original fragrance. As I said, it's a fresher, a slightly more modern take on the scent profile of La Nuit de l'Homme. So you're getting the woodiness, you're getting the freshness, you're getting the lavender touch, a hint of spiciness, a hint of sweetness, but the guys from YSL added a fresher touch because they added a ginger note. They maybe amplified a little bit the lavender note from the original YSL La Nuit de l'Homme, and the end result feels a little bit fresher, feels a little bit more modern, maybe a little bit more youthful as well, and it's maybe feels also a little bit more versatile because of the added freshness. It's a lovely scent that smells great and has pretty good performance. It's not a beast, but definitely has decent performance. When it comes to the two clones from Lattafa and Fragrance World, both of them don't feel like exact clones. I think the 4 previous fragrances that I've included in today's episode of Fragrance Duels actually feel closer to their original inspirations. In this case, we're talking about inspirations, we're talking about twists. Now, in the face of Lattafa Al Nashama Caprice, the thing in here is that this feels a little bit more lavender forward. It feels like a slightly maybe even a little bit fresher, a little bit more aromatic than the original fragrance. Feels and smells a little bit cleaner, almost creating this sort of an soapy vibe. So again, it's not a one-to-one clone, but definitely in the air smells close to a Lannoy de L'Homme Bleu Électrique. And it's a very nice smelling fragrance that will probably get you some compliments along the way as well. In the case of Jack of Clubs, this one feels a little bit different again, but in a different way. And the difference is here is that this feels slightly less fresh than the original fragrance. This one feels a little bit sweeter, a little bit less of a gingery has a little bit less of a gingery smell compared to the original scent. In the air, again, this will definitely remind you of Bleu Électrique, but it's not a one-to-one clone. And to be honest, both of them feel sort of an equally further away, distant away from the original scent, but in their own way. Al Nashama Caprice is just fresher, a more aromatic take, a slightly cleaner, more soapy take on the original scent. Jack of Clubs is slightly sweeter, slightly more ambery, less of an aromatic take on the original scent. So I can't say that any of them actually wins when it comes to how close they are, because they feel equally distant away from the original scent. When it comes to performance, here is where the sort of the biggest difference lies. When it comes to total longevity, the Lattafa one is slightly better performing on my skin personally, maybe giving me an extra half an hour to an hour over Jack of Clubs. But where this actually excels even more is when it comes to the actual projection. I think Al Nashama Caprice is the but definitely the better projecting fragrance because of its more aromatic nature, in my personal opinion. So the performance round will go to the Al Nashama Caprice one from Lattafa. When it comes to the actual end result of the fragrance battle, I would say Al Nashama Caprice, because of its better performance, is probably the slightly better deal, and I would name it the winner. But actually my personal favorite out of the two is Jack of Clubs. So guys, in today's episode of Fragrance Duels, I compared fragrances from the brands of Arabiyat Prestige, French Avenue, Fragrance World, Armaf and Lattafa. I hope that you found today's video interesting to watch or helpful. If you did, give it a like. And I also hope that you're going to join me in my next video for your dose of some fragrance content. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.